Welcome back. So I'm still reading the New York Times bestseller, All About Love, New Visions by our beloved author, Bell Hooks. I'm in chapter 1, and the title of this is Clarity, Give Love Words. And here we're going to talk about the importance of having a shared definition when it comes down to love. Imagine how much easier it would be for us to learn how to love if we began with a shared definition. The word love is most often defined as a noun, yet all the more astute theorists of love acknowledge that we would all love better if we used it as a verb. A verb is an action word, so she's pointing out the importance of seeing love as something that we do, not something we say or feel. I spent years searching for a meaningful definition of the word love and was deeply relieved when I found one in psychiatrist M. Scott Peck's classic self-help book, The Road Less Traveled, first published in 1978. Echoing the work of Erich Fromm, he defines love as, quote, the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. So, in simpler terms, it's the choice to work to grow spiritually and to help another person grow spiritually. Did you ever define love as that? Not me. Let's go. Explaining further, he continues, love is as love does. That's the verb part, right? It's not what you say. You love somebody if you do something. Yeah, I've heard that part. Love is an act of will, namely both an intention and an action. We love people when we think it and then we do it. If we keep it in just words and thoughts and prayers aren't love. You have to put feet on and work. Will also implies choice. We do not have to love. We choose to love. Nobody's forcing you to love. You can say, check out. Give me my check, I've had enough of this face. Since the choice must be made to nurture growth, this definition counters the more widely accepted assumption that we love instinctually. Everyone who has witnessed the growth process of a child from the moment of birth on sees clearly that before language is known, before the identity of caretakers is recognized, babies respond to affectionate care. Usually they respond with sounds or looks of pleasure. As they grow older, they respond to affectionate care by giving affection, cooing at the sight of a welcome caretaker. Affection is only one ingredient of love. To truly love, we must learn to mix various ingredients. So here you're a chef of love, right? So here are the ingredients: care, affection, recognition, respect, commitment, and trust, as well as honest and open communication. So here we go. More words, more definition. So as you can see, defining love is a dynamic process, right? And it's person specific too, because what means care to you and affection to you might not mean the same to another person. So you have to keep on working out these definitions together. Let me continue. Learning faulty definitions of love when we are quite young makes it difficult to be loving as we grow older. We start out committed to the right path, but go in the wrong direction. Most of us learn early on to think of love as a feeling, right? When we feel deeply drawn to someone, we cathek with them. That is, we invest feelings or emotions in them. That process of investment, wherein a loved one becomes important to us, is called cathexis. In his book, Peck rightly emphasizes that most of us confuse cathecking with loving. So I want to go back a little bit. Because what makes us feel drawn to people? Sometimes we're drawn to people out of our brokenness. We're drawn to people out of our trauma. We're drawn to them for many reasons. And then we start pouring emotions into them and thinking, oh yeah, this is a choice. I must be loving that person. And they're saying that is not necessarily love. We all know how often individuals feeling connected to someone through the process of kathecking insist that they love the other person, even if they're hurting or neglecting them. Since their feelings is that of cathexis, they insist that what they feel is love. They feel connected to someone, and they've been investing emotions, so they think, yeah, this must be love, even if it's hurting, even if it's unkind. When we understand love as the will to nurture our own and another's spiritual growth, it becomes clear that we cannot claim to love if we are hurtful and abusive. Love and abuse cannot coexist. Abuse and neglect are by definition the opposite of nurturance and care. Often we hear of a man who beats his children and wife and then goes to the corner bar and passionately proclaims how much he loves them. If you talk to the wife on a good day, she may also insist he loves her, despite his violence. An overwhelming majority of us come from dysfunctional families in which we were taught we were not okay, where we were shamed, verbally and or physically abused, and emotionally neglected, even as we're also taught to believe that we were loved. For most folks, it is just too threatening to embrace a definition of love that would no longer enable us to see love as present in our families. Too many of us need to cling to a notion of love that either makes abuse acceptable or at least makes it seem that whatever happened was not that bad. So I'm stopping here and pointing out something that she said, right? Something very important here that we see. Even I was a CPS investigating neglect and abuse of children for a minute, and it was always surprising to me that, you could find the children being ill-treated in the worst way, but they still wanted to be in the home. They still loved their parents. They still, because that's all they know, right? They have come to accept that definition of love, that even if the person is doing the most cruel and damaging thing to them, they've convinced them that it is love. And so for us, it's to go how it becomes hard to define things, because creating a definition needs you to be objective in some way. And if we're honest, everything we do is subjective. So we want to define love based on how we experienced it in our homes. We want to everybody wants to believe they came from a loving home, or at least they were trying their best, or at least they were not that bad. But the truth is, if we're honest, there's something inside ourselves we know. You have to have an objective definition of love. Were they experiencing the experiences in your home one that led you to be better emotionally and spiritually? Or did it cause you to feel insecure and broken? We can know what love is by its results. If you were being neglected, if you were being hurt, if you were being abused, if you felt less than, if you already know the truth about what your life at home was like. So this is why I want, the first step is to say, how do I define love? How do I define love? And do I have these elements? So I'm going to put the elements in the description bar so you can take your own time and try to define what your childhood was like. Thank you so much for listening, and please come back.